All right, I want to move on now to a real medical condition that many of us suffer from, though I do not have what I would call the most persistent and worrying and serious of this condition, diabetes. There is type 1 and there is type 2. Type 2 can be associated with lifestyle and various other factors. That's what I've got, though at the moment, after 10 or 12 years of diagnosis, I seem to be getting on top of it. It is very difficult. And one thing diabetics need to do, particularly type 1, is monitor the amount of glucose in their blood system. Some new ways of doing that have been developed, and they're having really positive impacts on health budgets and on the health of type 1 diabetics. I wanted to talk about them with Heather Verry, who is the CEO of Diabetes New Zealand and joins us now. Heather, how are you?
Oh, very good, thank you, Sean. All good.
All right.
Pleased to hear that you're managing your diabetes.
Well,
excellent to
look,
hear.
I'll be honest, I don't think I understood a lot about it for maybe the first 6 or 7 years, and I probably didn't take it seriously enough. But now that I know and read more about diabetes, I realise how much of a challenge it is lifestyle-wise for so many New Zealanders. Do you have figures, Heather, for how many diabetics we have, how many type 1s and how many type 2s diagnosed in the country?
We have about 330,000 people with diabetes. We don't have data to show that those who have type 1 and those who have type 2, but generally 20% have got type 1. And that's in the case of the new funding for the CGMs that Pharmac provided last year, or funded, about nearly 20,000 have actually taken up on the CGM. So that starts to show you, and not all people with type 1.
Now, what is for the uninitiated, what's a CGM?
Right, it's a continuous glucose monitor. So it sits generally on the arm. You might see someone with a patch, and what it's doing is constantly monitoring the blood. And it will actually talk to your phones and give you alarms to let you know when you're going high or low. Yeah. So prior to that, type 1 or anyone on insulin, we're needing to prick their fingers probably 8 to 10 times a day, which is quite intrusive.
I do it 3 or 4 times a day at the moment. I'm pricking my finger.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's a pain.
It's a pain. Well, and can you imagine young families where mum and dads are having to wake their children up during the night to prick their fingers just to check their sugar levels? And they need to do that because to ensure that their child's okay, and especially in the morning. So very intrusive for the whole family. We are hoping to get funding from Pharmac for CGMs for type 2s who are also on insulin, because it's absolutely, they're life-changing.
So what it means, and explain to the lay people why you need to monitor your blood glucose as a diabetic.
Well, you need to balance your insulin intake with your other foods and sugar. So it's a balancing act. So
because diabetes is the inability to process glucose and sugars, right?
Correct. That's exactly right. So for type 1s, they don't have insulin, so that is not being produced at all. For type 2s, to be in layman's terms, what's happened is over the years, your pancreas is starting to slow down to produce the insulin, and the key to get the insulin into your blood cells, and you need it through your blood cells. So it stays sticky in your blood cells, which is why you end up with a little blindness, because it's sticking around like little grit in your blood cells. So it's not being processed. Your blood sugar level, the sugar that you're taking is not being processed.
It's not being filtered out of your blood system, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's
and that's what
right.
insulin does. And if you're insulin deficient, you can't do that, right? So that's why we monitor to see if we need more insulin or if our levels are spiking, or indeed the other way, if your levels have dropped and you've got all the glucose and all the energy out of your blood system, which creates other problems, right?
Absolutely. So we had a young mother who was type 1 with 2 under 4s, didn't realise she was so busy getting ready in the kitchen that they were dropping to the point where she went unconscious. And fortunately, her husband came home early and found her. Otherwise, that may not have been a nice result. So now that she has a CGM, she's getting alerts to say to her, hey, you need to take some sugar.
And it's an implant in your arm, as I understand. As you said,
Yes, it's like a little needle.
Linked up to a phone to alert you whether or not you need some more insulin. And I would imagine, and I'll be honest, how much does it cost if you don't get it subsidised? It's a couple of $100?
Yeah, $200 a month, which is quite unaffordable for some.
And I mean, I'm looking at this, and in some ways, it would be convenient. Are they waterproof and life-proof, these inbuilt insulin monitors?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. They can.
Look, I'm saying I'm still considering it, as I just want to improve what I'm doing. So, how many people who are eligible for this for these monitors, type 1 diabetics, have actually taken them up, or do you want to spread the word further?
Well, no, I think those on type 1s will know about it, and those who wish to take it up will have already done. Some people have had type 1 for 50-odd years and have managed quite well, so they're probably not feeling the need. But at the moment, nearly 20,000 have taken up the offer and are being funded for CGMs, and of course that will grow over the years. And as I said, the message we want to get out there is that we would like Pharmac to fund those for type 2. Because look, if you can better manage your diabetes, it's going to prevent or delay these complications,
And I tell you what, as you get older, the fear of those complications and the reality of them comes home to roost. It really does. I've been lucky with my eyes, which are fine and always have been. I have some neuropathy issues with my feet that I'm dealing with. And I imagine I could have made that a little bit better if I had taken my diabetes more seriously when I was younger, 10, 12 years ago when I was diagnosed. And that's just, that's how we deal with things, particularly as men, to be honest. I want to ask you, how much does the monitoring and the improved treatment of diabetes and management of diabetes, how much is that saving the New Zealand taxpayer a year? Because obviously, as you said, $200 a month for one of these monitors, but it gives that back in savings to the health system?
Oh, look, there's a lot of figures that are floated around, but, if you start to sort of look at the number of complications that it will save each year, kidney disease and cardiovascular and strokes, there's a figure of $52,000 a day, which is quite amazing, compared with $200 a month, which is what, $2,000 or $3,000 a year. But then the other data that's always been around is that someone with well-managed diabetes will only cost the system about $180 per year, and that's just for some checks and blood tests and things like that. But whereas a person with one or more clinical complications that are unstable or severe, the estimate is then about $14,000 per year per person. So if you add that up, that's quite considerable as well, if you've got 10 or 20,000 people with unstable diabetes. And that's why, within the renal units, they're working 24 hours in Auckland because 50% is due to diabetes.
Yeah. It is a condition prevalent amongst the Pacific Island community for various reasons.
High prevalence. Yes, it is. It's high prevalence with Pacific, also Indian, and Maori.
Yeah.
So and it's in the genes. Can be intergenerational, especially that unfortunately we're getting younger. That's the really sad thing. At the moment we're seeing 8-year-olds with type 2, and that is a particularly aggressive disease. Yes, and those children may well end up on the renal unit by the age of 18.
You see, I wasn't diagnosed till after I was 40. My father had type 2 diabetes. My brother, fit as a buck rat, shows occasionally pre-diabetic symptoms. So, part of it is the genes. And I guess there's a shame in it too, Heather, that it's a disease for people who eat too much or have bad habits or aren't fit enough.
Look, there's a real stigma around it, and so obviously for these young 8-year-olds getting type 2, it's really sad because that is not a lifestyle. That is a case of being intergenerational. The data has found that if the mother the young mother's got type 2 diabetes, then that child can end up with type 2 diabetes at that young age. And look, and the stigma, unfortunately, for the type 1s, people are challenging them. If they see them eating some sweets when they need it, they'll be saying, well, look, if you didn't eat sweets, you wouldn't have type 2 you wouldn't have diabetes.
Yeah, and that's the most unhelpful bloody thing that anyone can do to you, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Heather, what are the most common symptoms? Because I imagine, like I was, diagnoses came a little bit late. I didn't know the signs to look for. What are the signs that you might have diabetes and you need to get checked?
There are 4 key signs, really. It's drinking, constantly wanting to drink. Urinating all the time. Yeah.
And clear urine. No colour in your urine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like water. You just a filter. You're just drinking water all the time.
Yes, exactly. Lethargy, feeling tired all the time without, nothing.
Having to get up and go.
Should be feeling.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And also, what was the other one? Obviously, going to the toilet, lethargy, and quite often you'll actually lose weight unexpectedly. Yep. That's often a sign as well, which seems to go against the grain of what we talk about with lifestyles. But generally, there'll be suddenly you're losing weight for no real reason. So if you combine all 4 of those, that's when you absolutely need to go to see your GP and get the test. And look, generally, older people, the doctors will have them on the radar saying, I think it's time we've started to do diabetes testing. Yeah. But that testing now has to get younger and younger, and that is the sad thing, because as you say, in our generation, it was our parents in the 50s, 60s that were getting it. Yeah. Now we're seeing, as I said, not only 8-year-olds, but generally a lot of people in their 40s are starting to get it. So their chances of getting the complications are that much more advanced unless they start to manage it.
Yeah. Hey, what feedback, what indications you've had that these inbuilt or monitoring implants might be extended to type 2s? You had any feedback from the government or from health officials?
Pharmac absolutely knows that we're going to be advocating for them, because I met the new CEO of Pharmac, and before I could even give her the warning, she said, yes, I know. She said, I know you want funding for type 2 for CGM. So it's absolutely on their radar, and I'm hoping that we may well get it across the system sooner rather than later.
Any political will on this?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm sure David Seymour, he's always in that camp where, prevention will always help, better to prevent.
What about Labor? What about National? What about New Zealand First? Because if you got them all those people together, you're there.
Well, yeah, but Pharmac's meant to be neutral. It's not meant to be under pressure from government, Yeah. So, look, I spent 7 years doing submissions and turning up at health select committees. So it took all of that time just to get funding for type 1s. Yeah. But I'm hoping they are seeing the benefits, or they will see the benefits from funding type 1s. Well,
$604 million a year, the inbuilt monitors are estimated to say. That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. And if they even just speak to only a handful of people who have now got the CGMs, they will all categorically say it has been absolutely life-changing for me, where they might have been hospitalised 4 times a year, which quite often happens. These are even people who are doing a really good job at managing their diabetes. Things can turn topsy-turvy. So that's saving on those hospitalisations. Yeah. So we reckon that's about $80,000 a year per person, just not having to be hospitalised. So it's a huge cost saving. It is.
Heather, are you diabetic yourself?
No, I'm not.
No, you lucky old thing.
I am.
If people want to check out if they want to know more, where should they go? Where do they get hold of your organisation?
Well, know the risk. Go to diabetes.org.nz, or just even type in diabetes and you'll find Diabetes New Zealand, and there's a simple test there saying know your risk. So there's quite a few little things that you tick, And if you get a high score, then that's telling you go and make an appointment with your GP and suggest that it's time to have a blood test to see whether you've got. Or if you live in Auckland, we have a mobile van which moves around South Auckland all the time, and you can just pop in there for free. And if you do come through with showing that you have GP diabetes, we will be referring you directly to your GP to make them aware of that.
Yeah. Now, Heather, I do have a question out of left field that someone's texted in. I don't know what it's about, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you have an opinion on peptides for diabetics?
No, I don't, sorry.
Okay, thank you. I've got no idea what that's about, and I asked the question. Thank you so much for joining us, Heather. I think your organisation does incredibly good work for a large number of New Zealanders, and I thank you for your advocacy and for joining us this morning.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Sean.
Cheers. Heather Verry, CEO of Diabetes New Zealand.